Skeleton Crew Episode 7 is here, and I must say, it is the greatest Star Wars we've gotten all year. Okay, but in all seriousness, from Jod killing Brutus to slicing SM-33's head clean off to some pretty insane Easter eggs and a cliffhanger that has us on the edge of our seats until next Tuesday. This episode had a lot going on, but without further ado, let's break it all down. Episode 7 is titled We Are Gonna Be in So Much Trouble, referring to the line Fern says later in this episode about these kids being in trouble from their parents. But the trouble that's really being referred to in this title is Jod Na Nawood. But this episode opens on At-Aten. We see the parents of the 4 kids in the forest crafting a communication buoy. This makeshift communication device is going to send a message out to their kids. However, on At-Aten, sending out a message is prohibited. And as they are crafting this makeshift device, they hear something rustling around in the trees. And one of KB's moms says it's probably a tree sucker. Now, what the hell's a tree sucker? Well, there is really nothing called a tree sucker in Star Wars. However, in this 7th episode, it is confirmed that At-Aten has been hidden for hundreds of years. And that brings us back to the High Republic era, a time where the Jedi are at their peak in the galaxy. But this is not the first time we've had a High Republic era reference in this series, as the lightsaber that Jod is wielding is gold and silver, the same colors as the Jedi in their lightsabers during this High Republic era. Also, in the very first episode of this Skeleton Crew series, on At-Aten, there was mention of the Great Works. One of the only other times we've ever heard of these so-called Great Works is in the High Republic novels, when the Chancellor at the time, Chancellor Lina So, put into place her Great Works. Is it possible that one of those was hiding 9 planets, safely protecting and manufacturing billions upon billions of credits? Tell me what you think in the comments, because this tree sucker might be another reference to the High Republic novels. A creature known as the Drengir, a creature that is able to control people's minds, even Jedi. And when you look at one of these things, the only logical description would be a tree sucker. But hey, maybe this tree sucker is something completely different. However, these parents get caught by the safety droids, and instead of turning themselves over and trying to find a different way to contact their kids, they see this as the only opportunity to save them. So they run. All the parents one by one get picked off by the safety droids, but Fern's mom Farah is successful in getting the communication buoy up in the air. We then cut to the Onyx Cinder, where the kids are playing what we only assume to be slap ball.
But we do play this one game called Slap Ball.
The aforementioned game that Neil seems to be really good at from episode 4 of this Skeleton Crew series. But the kids are all excited because KB saw the coordinates to At-Aten and they are on their way back home. While KB, Neil, and Fern are excited, Wim is bummed out. His fun adventure has come to an end. Or has it? Wim knows that when he gets back home, he's still going to have to take his test. So really, this entire Skeleton Crew series has just been Wim trying to get out of taking a test.
Ironic.
We then cut to outside of the barrier around At-Aten as the pirates arrive first. When we last left off in episode 5, we saw Jod talk his way into staying alive and bringing all these pirates to At-Aten. But when the pirates arrive, Brutus says this is At-Aten. It's a toxic maelstrom. Now the phrase maelstrom is actually pretty important when it comes to Star Wars. This was also used to describe the cluster of matter outside of Kessel, most known for the Kessel Run from Solo, a Star Wars story. But a maelstrom also has the meaning of being the lead ship of a class of battle cruisers. Obviously, we know which definition they're going with here, but Brutus does compare these gases to something similar to the Kessel Run. But right away, all Brutus sees is what looks to be a gas planet. A planet where there's a constant storm and no life can live. Definitely not a place where they're going to find an old Republic mint and a hidden treasure that's never been found. So right away, he goes to prep the airlock to throw Jod out. But Jod counters by saying, "How stupid are you, Brutus? Obviously, At-Aten is going to be hidden. It's been missing for hundreds of years." Now, this is actually the first time a character has specifically given us an amount of time that At-Aten has been hidden away. Before this, it was like a long time ago or a really long time ago, but now we got hundreds of years, which takes us to that High Republic era like I mentioned before. And Jod convinces the pirates to not throw him out the airlock by using SM-33 and Tak Renid's old logs. And SM-33 tells the pirates that Tak Renid said the real treasure planet is hidden inside an endless storm, like the one that sits right in front of them. So Brutus agrees to have one volunteer go hop in a fighter and go check out the planet, trying to figure out if they can actually get through this storm. And they send Glurb. We learned about Glurb in the last episode. He's been saving up to buy that glowweed plantation. But sadly, all that saving is going to go to waste, as Glurb, well, doesn't make it back. His ship is destroyed before it can get through this storm cloud, and immediately Brutus throws Jod in the airlock, and Jod comes this close to being killed. However, because he was the captain of these pirates, they all like him. So the pirate who's about to press the button gives him a second chance. And yet again, the lady who saved him in the last episode saves him again, as she says there is a ship approaching coming out of hyperspace. It's the Onyx Cinder, or at least the new and improved Onyx Cinder. As we saw at the end of last episode, the kids blew up the hull of the old ship, so now the armor has been removed. The kids think they've finally made it back home after this crazy journey throughout the Star Wars galaxy, but they get caught in a tractor beam. They get pulled into the pirates' ship, but these kids have a plan. They're not going down without a fight. So when Brutus and the pirates arrive, and Brutus tells them to come out unarmed or they're going to come in, they use the cargo lift to grab Brutus. Now, it can't be understated how great the writing is in this Skeleton Crew series. Something that's been a tiny little detail from episode 1, 2, or 3 has become something extremely important in the later episodes. Just like the little detail of Fern telling the droid at her house to run a memory override, which seemed like a nothing little scene, becoming so important a few episodes later when she does the exact same thing on SM-33, this cargo lift has been teased since episode 3. It was introduced by Wim just messing around. And then again, in episode 5, the kids come down on the cargo lift as they pretend to be the elders. And now, in episode 7, they use that same cargo lift to grab Brutus. And as they do, you hear a very scary voice say, "Stay back." This is KB. Again, a small detail from episode 1. KB, using her enhancements to distort her voice, comes back to play a big role in this 7th episode. She tells them to release the tractor beam and they will let him go. But Jod turns around and tells the pirates to fear not. And this is when the kids are realizing that Jod is with these pirates. And they also realize that they're in big trouble, as Jod uses the Force to take off his handcuffs, reaches down onto the ground, and kills Brutus. This was absolutely insane, and I definitely didn't see it coming. However, a lot of fans were on the fence as to whether or not Jod would go down a dark path or become a hero. Through the first 5 or 6 episodes, he was sort of like a Han Solo type smuggler who only really cared for himself, but fans thought, just like Han Solo, he would come towards the light side. But no, Jod goes very dark very quickly. After killing Brutus, he now becomes Captain Silvo again. He tells the pirates to take the ship because there's just 4 scared kids on there, and he also tells them to prepare to claim At-Atten. We then get to see Captain Silvo, or Jod, back with his helmet on that was in episode 1. Now, I must say, this helmet design is really cool, and that's saying something because in Star Wars, we've had some pretty awesome helmet design. But sadly, this helmet doesn't really last long. But as the kids are captured on the Onyx Cinder, and Jod is in the cockpit, he sees that there's an incoming transmission, the communication buoy that the parents successfully got outside the barrier. And we then get to see a holo message from all the kids' parents. This is pretty much the kids at their lowest. They are right outside their home world, with their parents right there. But instead of going home, they are currently prisoners on a pirate ship. And they're listening to their parents as they tell them that they are going to be okay, when it doesn't look like they're going to be. Now, there is one very important thing that Farah, Fern's mom, says in this transmission. She tells the kids to find a Republic emissary. Now, an emissary, by definition, is a person who is on a special mission, which makes sense because At-Atten is a secret planet. However, she says Republic emissary. And currently at the time in this galaxy, the people who control the galaxy are the New Republic. And she is definitely not referring to them. Like Jod mentioned earlier in the episode, At-Atten has been hidden away for hundreds of years. That means the people of At-Atten have no idea what's going on in the outside galaxy. They don't even know that the Empire took over, killing all of the Jedi, and they definitely don't know that Palpatine existed. So this Republic emissary that Farah tells the kids to look for doesn't exist. However, Jod is also seeing this transmission and now knows exactly what he has to do. Now, this message gets Wim all riled up as he screams attack and starts to attack the pirates. But 4 little kids aren't going to get very far against some pirates. As Jod turns and says, it's always good to have some prisoners. Chain them up. And Wim screams, I don't care how many different names you have. You are still a liar. And this is our ship. We found it first. Now, Jod's response is, well, now it's mine. And that's where things get complicated. 33 chimes in and says, actually, you're the captain of the frigate, the main pirate vessel. So by the pirate code, you can't also be the captain of the Onyx Cinder. And SM33 has to abide by the pirate code. Now, before Wim is able to scream, I call claimsies, Jod covers his mouth as he looks up at SM33 and says, I claim this ship. I am the captain of this ship, and you take orders from me. But that's not the pirate code. He can't be captain of both ships. So Fern runs in and screams, I call unclaimsies. Now in this scene, it's almost like SM33 has a heart, as he's looking for any sort of loophole to fight back against Jod. His programming makes him abide by the pirate code, but like he said, the pirate code only allows a captain to be the captain of one ship and one ship only. And the unclaimsies was enough. SM33 knocks Jod out, and he drags all the pirates off the kids' Onyx Cinder. Now, as Jod wakes up outside, the ship is powering up. He removes his helmet and gets up. Now, some fans have been theorizing that he could have used force speed or force jump to jump onto the Onyx Cinder or get onto the Onyx Cinder before it took off. Now, we didn't see it, so we have no idea to know if that was true or not. But it's a fun little theory. Force speed hasn't been seen on screen since The Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan did this. So it's just a cool little thought to have. But SM33 starts up the Onyx Cinder, and Fern says, take us home. As they blast off, Vane sends 2 fighters after them, and they go down into the storm cloud. We see these satellites that we saw in episode 4 broken outside of Akron, but this time they are intact and active, with electricity all around them. These satellites are what create the barrier, and the electricity destroys the 2 pirate ships that are chasing them. But the Onyx Cinder is not getting destroyed. And SM33 explains that it was Tak Renan's genius. He stole one of the Republic ships that a Republic emissary would take to go check on the Great Works on At-Aten. And that is how Tak Renan was able to enter the barrier without being destroyed, and how the kids were able to leave the barrier in the first episode without it being a problem at all. Now, where Tak Renan got this ship, well, we can assume it was one of the other 8 planets that was destroyed. He probably found this ship that was still intact and stole it. But that's just a theory for now. As the kids pass safely through the barrier, the Onyx Cinder goes into autopilot, just like on Akron. Again, 3 episodes ago, we arrived on Akron and the Onyx Cinder went into autopilot, and we had no idea why. Nobody was speculating that this Onyx Cinder ship was a ship that was from At-Aten or any of these jewels of the old Republic planets. But as the auto landing kicks in, Fern turns around and says, my mom totally lied, by the way. We are going to be in so much trouble. The title of this episode. But Fern says, I don't care anymore. As Jod Na Nawood comes up behind them and says, well, I think you should. And as SM33 goes to take care of Jod, he ignites his recently found lightsaber and chops off SM33's head. I know, I did not see that coming either. It's chopped off his head with a lightsaber! But SM33 is a droid, and we've seen droids be pieced back together time and time again in Star Wars. C-3PO being the best example of it. So yes, Brutus is definitely dead, but SM33 can be pieced back together. That is, if the kids get the chance to do so. Now this scene of Jod chopping off SM33's head starts the darkest scene of this entire series. I mean, it gets dark really fast. The music changes and Jod is just screaming at these kids. He tells them to shut up, no more talking. And if they do, then he's going to slice and dice their parents, because now he knows what their parents look like from the holo message that was sent earlier in the episode. I know he's a bad guy, but Jude Law has done an incredible job with this character of Jod. I, of course, hate him for what he's done, but he is so awesome. An evil pirate force-using, lightsaber-wielding badass. But after Jod threatens the kids to slice and dice their parents, we cut to the safety droid asking the parents on At-Aten about the communication buoy that they sent out. And Wim's dad says, well, you left us no choice. They had to help their children. But as they are yelling at this safety droid, they get interrupted by the supervisor. Now in the credits, it does say that the supervisor is voiced by Stephen Fry. And shout out to Star Wars Santa because he sent this side-by-side image of the Wizard of Oz and Stephen Fry. But it's likely that the supervisor is just a droid or some sort of programming to keep this planet hidden and creating credits. But the supervisor says, attention all citizens of At-Aten. It is your supervisor speaking. An emissary is arriving for a shipment, and everybody is pretty shocked. Clearly, this hasn't happened in a long time, because as the onyx cinder comes down to land, these people are standing on top of the grass that is being lifted away for the landing pad for the ship. So they had no idea where this ship was going to land because they've never seen anything like this before, implying that a Republic emissary has not been here in a long time. But Jod and the kids exit the onyx cinder as they are met by security droids. Jod is showing off his lightsaber, making it look as if he is a Jedi from the Republic, and he claims to be the Republic emissary. And he also claims to have saved these 4 kids. The security droid says that it is procedure for any off-worlder to go immediately to the Old Republic Mint. As they begin to get lowered into the ground, there is this massive underground cave system where the Old Republic Mint is creating new credits. While they're on their way down, the safety droids tell Jod that these 4 kids were missing and their parents should be informed. But Jod says, no, it's fine, just throw them on my ship for safety. We then get a look at this Old Republic Mint, and honestly, I don't know what I was expecting. It almost looks like a nuclear reactor of some sort, but it's a mint that prints credits. But Jod is very concerned about getting his pirate ship inside the barrier. He needs backup, so he asks the safety droid if he can get his other ship down here right away. But the droid says he has to ask the supervisor about the barrier. As Jod says, then go fetch the supervisor. Now, we didn't learn who the supervisor was in this episode, but it will be revealed in episode 8. So tell me in the comments who you think the supervisor is. But they finally arrive at one of the vaults. Yeah, that's right, one of the vaults. It's revealed that there are 1,139 vaults filled with billions upon billions, if not trillions, of credits. Now, the number 1,139 is kind of significant, as the creator of Star Wars himself, George Lucas's first film, was titled THX 1138, or 1,138. One off from the 1,139 vaults on At-Aten.
Coincidence? I think not!
But as Jod celebrates him finally finding all these credits, the kids' parents arrive. And after all this time, the kids finally reunite with their parents. And this emotional reunion is cut short by Jod, who comes up behind them and ignites his lightsaber. Now, there's still the question of Jod's backstory, and of course we'll speculate all about it for a whole week, but the way he ignites his lightsaber is very Count Dooku-esque. I'll leave it at that for now. But that is the end of the episode, a massive cliffhanger for the finale next week. Now, honestly, after watching this episode 3 times already, it is my favorite episode of this series so far. Jod, although he is a bad guy and you're not supposed to like him, I love him. I know he killed Brutus and I loved Brutus too. And he chopped SM-33's head off, but that can be replaced. He is just so badass. And I can't get over how genius the writing is. Everything that happened in episode 1, 2, and 3 is paying off in this back half of the season. And it makes you wonder, what's coming in episode 8? Who is the supervisor? What was Jod's backstory? We got a lot of questions that need to be answered, but I rated this episode a 9.5 out of 10. I still think the finale can be better than this. But tell me what you think in the comment section below. Rank this episode out of 10 if you have not already. And like I mentioned before, everything that is happening in these episodes seems to be paying off later on. And episode 6 was full of Easter eggs. But I broke down that entire episode in this video right here.